Dear Samsung, this is a notch. Now I know what you're thinking. Why is this guy referring just to us? Why not Huawei or any other manufacturer that is likely to adopt this design direction in 2019? Why?
The notch.
The notch, right.
They come here all the time.
You were supposed to be the resistance, Samsung. What are you talking about? We still are. This is the Infinity O display. It's clearly not a notch. Yeah, it kinda is. Before I prove my point, I want to create some opinion contrast, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate for just a sec here. This is the Galaxy S10e, and this is the regular S10. For comparison, let's take the Essential phone. This display cutout sort of bleeds down the top bezel, while this one looks kind of like a little mole placed on the top right of the display. They both have the same purpose, but aesthetically, they are different. So let's say that they're not the same thing. Let's say this is a notch, and we'll call this a hole punch. Great. But what about this? Well, this is the part where we take a massive dump of logic on what was just said and show exactly how and why the hole punch is nothing more than a notch with a makeover. Devil's advocate mode is off. Again, we need something for comparison, so let's take the Huawei P20 Pro. Similar to the previous case, this cutout bleeds down the top bezel, and this one is detached from the bezel. Both have the same, or at least a similar purpose, but aesthetically, they're different. But how different are they really? Let's take that same P20 Pro and move its cutout, which is called a notch by the way, to the side. Let's lower it just a tad so that it disconnects from the top bezel. Now let's round it a little and wait a second. It's almost like we got the same thing, only now it's not here, but here. Well, that's pretty much what you did, Samsung. You've basically created a floating notch that pays no regards to display symmetry. The fact that you now have this little space here practically means nothing because there is close to zero usable information that those pixels could form. This cutout does look different, and you can call it whatever you want. But in a practical sense, it does the same thing a standard notch does. It intrudes. And really, same can be said for the smaller S10 and S10e. Sure, these display cutouts aren't as in-your-face as they are on the S10 Plus, and because they're visually smaller, rounder, and therefore potentially less aesthetically annoying, it might be easier to argue that they have nothing similar with the established concept of a notch. But just because those cutouts are smaller doesn't make them fundamentally something else. And I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way. This is the Honor View 20. It features a hole punch cutout similar to the new Galaxy phones. Now, if users don't like it, there's an option in the settings to hide it, and if you look up top here, well, there's a familiar word. Yeah, they're literally calling it a notch. Now look, I know there's going to be a lot of wordplay with people who disagree. This is a notch, this is also a notch, this is a hole punch, this is a wider hole punch, we get it. They all have names. What they all are intrusions. They come in different shapes, sizes, and positions, but in terms of their purpose and the way that they intrude on the display, they're practically the same thing. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the concept of a hole punch, which I'm colloquially calling a notch in this video in order to prove a point. If anything, I think that these are beautiful phones, and sure, this is a small step forward on the path to that bezel-less future the industry is so obviously striving to, even though no one ever really asked for it in the first place. But I'm putting this out there because in an industry where often unnecessary design choices are being advertised as innovations, it's important to call things out for what they really are behind the marketing. So just say it like it is. And thanks for watching.